YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to Paul's Wrath. My name is JD, and today we're doing a prediction video for the next type challenge in Generation 1. But before we talk about the next type, let's talk about the type we just finished, which was the grass type. We're going to do a ranking and a recap video on Friday, going over all the Pokemon, ranking them from worst to best, who did the best, who did the worst, and why they did the best, and why they did the worst. We'll talk about all that on Friday. But today, we're going to be talking about the new type challenge, which is the ground types. We're going to predict what order they're going to end in, and why they're going to end in that order. The first Pokemon on the docket is Marowak. Marowak is a Pokemon I think will come in last place in this challenge, and for very good reasons. It has a lot of weaknesses. Let's talk about every one of these weaknesses. First thing we're going to talk about is the stats. HP is 60, attack is 80, defense is 110, special is 50, and speed is 45. Speed being 45 is the first weakness this Pokemon has. It is the slowest Pokemon in this challenge. Now, if it was the slowest and it had like 65 or 70, I'd say that's good enough to get by. But 45, there are some things that are going to outspeed us and give us a lot of problems in the Elite Four. And we really just don't have a way to counter that, so this Pokemon's going to have to endure and hope for some luck. The other thing that's a weakness is its special being 50. Not a huge deal. A lot of ground-type Pokemon actually don't have access to a lot of special moves. However, this Pokemon does. And the fact that we have access to Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, and Blizzard, but its special stat is only 50, it's going to make these moves less potent. And where it would be a huge advantage over some of the other ground types, it actually just negates the advantage that we have, having access to those moves, but having low special. The other weakness we have with this Pokemon is its level up move pool. The level up move set, ignore what's on the thing. It's very annoying how bubblegarden.net has red, green, and blue and yellow in the same picture. If it just separated it, it'd make my life easier and probably other YouTubers easier as well. For the sake of just, not bashing your head off the wall and not like, what does this say? Ignore what's in yellow. We start the game with 4 moves, technically. Bone Club is the first move. It's 65 base power, 85% accurate. With stab, it's about 98. It's a very powerful move. It's a very good move to have early in the game. The next move we have is Growl. The next move we have is Leer and Focus Energy. Focus Energy, we're just going to delete. And the reason why it doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do, and this Pokemon has a huge disadvantage compared to the other Pokemon here. This Pokemon does not have a move to start the game that can hit flying type Pokemon. In my playthroughs, it is a rule that you have to beat the second rival, the one that's on the way to Victory Road, right after you talk to Professor Oak, get the town map or whatever in the Pokédex. We have to fight that battle. Bone Club cannot hit Pidgey, so we have to complete all of our power points. The reason why I'm excluding Focus Energy is it's supposed to have an effect of making it 4 times more likely for you to crit. It actually makes it 4 times less likely. And we have to complete all this power points anyway. So I was like, you know what, we're just going to remove Focus Energy and just have Growl, Leer, and Bone Club for this Pokemon. Other than that, leveling up, it doesn't really get any other moves we're going to use via level up. Maybe Thrash, but that's so late in the game. I don't see how it's going to be that useful. We're going to have better moves by that point. The one thing I do want to talk about is this Pokemon does have the capacity for a very good what-if scenario, because in Generation 2, this Pokemon starts off with not only Bone Club, but also gets Headbutt. And with the breeding move of Swords Dance, this Pokemon can be very potent with those things, because Swords Dance does compensate for a lot of its problems, because it does the badge boost. That is a what-if scenario we're going to do way into this challenge, but that'll be a fun video we're going to have way later. So the first weakness, speed and special, not great. Second weakness, we got to spend a lot of time depleting power points, and that's going to slow down the early game. Fourth weakness we're going to have with this Pokemon is our TM move pool is actually pretty broad, but there's one glaring thing on here that I want to talk about. We get access to Mega Punch, Body Slam, Takedown, Double Edge, Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, Blizzard. Are those moves going to be like game breaking? No. Our special's not great. However, it will be good for PP management. There are some things that those things will be very effective against. We also get access to the fighting moves. We get access to Seismic Toss, Earthquake, and Dig are going to be useful. Mimic, and then beyond Mimic, I don't think anything else can be used. However, this is the one ground type Pokemon that does not get access to Rock Slide. We are going to have a big problem in this playthrough with flying type Pokemon, especially Gyarados. Gyarados is not only flying, but he's water type. And Rock Slide would be a very good counter to Gyarados. However, this is the one Pokemon that does not have access to that move. So how are we going to beat our rivals Gyarados? How are we going to beat Lance's Gyarados? That's the big question of this Pokemon. This is why this Pokemon is going to come in last, because it does not have a very good solution to those problems. Moving on to the next Pokemon. Pokemon I think will come in second to last is Dugtrio. Full disclosure, this is actually one of my favorite Pokemon to use in Generation 1. I get this Pokemon every single time. Go to the Diglett Tunnel, get the level 31 Dugtrio, and then just wreck the game with Charizard and Dugtrio. Be the Charizard and Dugtrio show, and then that was until I started actually building out a well-rounded team. I want this Pokemon to do well. However, it has one giant weakness that's going to hold it back. It's going to put it in 4th place. This Pokemon's stats are as follows. HP is 35, attack is 80, defense is 50, special is 70, and speed is 120. Speed, special, and attack are pretty solid across the board. They are great stats. It's probably one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. It'll never get outsped unless we're paralyzed or something like that, or we get slowed down by some move. Its HP being 35 is a huge hindrance. That means we're very frail. And if our defense was higher, it might not be that bad. But our defense being very low, that negatively correlates really well with HP, so we're very frail. This is the definition of what they call in this game a glass cannon. This Pokemon can hit fast, it can hit hard, but if it does knock out the opposition, it can retaliate, and we're not going to be able to take too many hits. That's the only weakness. That's really the only weakness with this Pokemon. If you look at its level up move pool, we have a great move pool to start the game. Growl, Scratch, and Dig, all good moves. Scratch will let us hit flying type Pokemon. Dig is a very powerful move. There's nothing in this Pokemon won't one-shot in the early game because that is a stab move and that ends up being 150 base power. You start the game with 150 base power move, that is incredible. We get access to Sand Attack a little bit later, don't know how useful that's going to be. Slash will probably be useful, and then Earthquake at level 47. We'll get Earthquake via TM long before that. Now looking at the TM move pool, it doesn't have a very broad move pool. It's actually the shallowest move pool of all the Pokemon in this challenge. However, it's not always a bad thing, because you know what your strategy is, you know how to funnel to that strategy. You can get kind of like a little bit of a paralysis by analysis by having too many options with other Pokemon, like Marowak is probably going to be one of those Pokemon that's going to have a lot of options, so we just don't know which route we want to go, so it's going to take a little bit of time to configure that. And maybe on the second playthrough, that's when we figure out the best possible move pool, but that first playthrough is going to be a little bit of growing pains in figuring that out. This Pokemon, we get access to Body Slam, which is a good physical normal move that'll help with flying type Pokemon and Pokemon that we can't hit with Dig or Earthquake. And then we get access to, eventually we get Hyper Beam, we'll get Earthquake, and like we already have Dig, so we start the game with that. We also get access to Rock Slide. That is going to be a huge advantage for this Pokemon compared to Marowak. Rock Slide negates what's going to happen with Gyarados. Gyarados will go for Hydro Pump every single time we face a Gyarados. Rock Slide can potentially one-shot that Pokemon, and with our speed, we'll definitely go first. The only question I have is will we one-shot, and we definitely can't tank a Hydro Pump. That's not going to be a thing. So that's the problem with this Pokemon. It just doesn't have great attack, or I'm sorry, great defense and great HP. Everything else, this Pokemon, pretty solid. The next Pokemon we're going to talk about is Sandslash. Sandslash is one Pokemon I don't think has a glaring weakness, it just has like a subtle weakness. Let's go over the stats and I'll go over what that subtle weakness is. HP is 75, attack is 100, defense is 110, special is 55, and speed is 65. You would think speed and special with this Pokemon would be a weakness, being 65 and 55. However, we have the ability to use Swords Dance, so this gets negated pretty well by the Badge Boost glitch. Speed being 65 alone actually isn't horrible. It's way better than Marowak, so that'll be manageable. But again, Swords Dance, once we use that, Badge Boost, this speed goes through the roof, so it's no longer a problem. The subtle problem with this Pokemon is its level up move pool. It starts the game with Scratch and Sand Attack. Even though Scratch is normal and physical and it goes off our really high attack stat, it's still a garbage move and you gotta get by Brock's gym in the early game. He is a rock trainer. So this move is negated, it's not very good, and we really don't get a good move until level 17, and that is the last good level up move we have. 17 we get Slash. Slash is the 70 base power move that crits all the time, so it's very powerful. It'll be very useful. However, Poison Sting, Swift, and Fury Swipes will not be used in this playthrough. This is its only weakness. I think its early game move pool holds it back. If it had anything other than, if it started with Slash, that'd be great. If it had Dig like Dugtrio, Bone Meringue, even the Nidos have something better than Scratch. If it had anything else, this Pokemon would definitely fly through and be a contender for the top 1 or 2 spots. However, this Pokemon does not have a good move pool. So that's its subtle weakness. However, once you get by Brock and you get Slash at level 17, this Pokemon really unlocks because we can get some really good moves. We get access to Swords Dance, the best badge boosting move in the game in my opinion. Ups our attack stat by 2 stages. You can do that 3 times, and it also does the badge boost glitch, making all the stats around it even better. Body Slam is a move we can get pretty early in the game right on the SSN. We also get access to Hyper Beam, Seismitoss, Earthquake, Dig, Mimic, and we also get access to Rock Slide as well. So that's going to negate our flying type weakness, especially like Gyarados. This Pokemon really does have the works. Having Swords Dance, huge advantage for this Pokemon. Do I think it's going to be better than the top 2? No. We did a playthrough about a year ago. It was a 3-way battle, a 3-way versus video, where we had Sandslash, Dugtrio, and Marowak face. That was all the mono ground types in Gen 1. And Sandslash won this by not a significant margin. Dugtrio wasn't far behind. But now with the overlay, having all the stats and the layouts and everything, I think it's going to be a huge advantage because now we can see better ranges. We can see our speed, make sure we outspeed certain things, see if we're about to level up, all that good stuff. And I think this Pokemon is just going to do so much better. The next Pokemon I want to talk about is the Pokemon I think will come in second, which is Nidoqueen. I predict that Nidoqueen will come in second because Nidoqueen does not have quite as good a stat distribution as Nidoking. Its stats are as follows: HP is 90, attack is 82, defense is 87, special is 75, and speed is 76. When you look at this Pokemon compared to Nidoking, Nidoking has 10 more in attack, and I think he has 10 more in speed. and that is a huge advantage in this playthrough. So that means Nidoqueen, for the most part, will have pretty good damage rounds or ranges. She'll have pretty good speed, but there are some things she will not outspeed, and that will be its one hindrance early in the mid game and maybe even some in the late game. Looking at the level of Movepool, it's pretty solid. It's not quite as good as Nidoking's, but it's pretty solid. Tackle, Scratch, Tail Whip, and Body Slam is what we start the game with. Body Slam is a very good move to have early in the game. However, we still got to face Brock's Gym. And with Brock's Gym, it's a rock type. Normal moves aren't really effective, so that is going to be a hindrance. However, this is still a great move pool. As soon as you get by Brock, this move pool will carry us all the way through Misty, and as we get other moves and progress through the game, it's a great move pool to have. We don't get access to double kick in this game, wish we did. That would make Brock's Gym a heck of a lot easier. Just gotta get to level 12, and double kick will one-shot both the Pokemon. It is what it is. As we look at the team move pool, there's really, like I said, not a glaring weakness here. We have so much type coverage, and with our special being 75, it's not great, but it's manageable. Make sure all these moves can be as effective as they can be. Mega Punch, Body Slam, Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Seismic Toss, Thunderbolt, Earthquake, Mimic, and then Rock Slide, and even Surf and Strength if we want to get crazy and use those moves. Very good moves. There's really not a glaring weakness. It's just the fact that its stat distribution isn't as good as Nidoking. Speaking of Nidoking, he is the one I think will win this entire battle. His stats are HP is 81, Attack is 92, Defense is 77, Special is 75, and Speed is 85. The fact that the Speed and Attack are higher is why I think this Pokemon will do better. Not that it's going to do significantly better. It's probably going to be a margin of a couple minutes, maybe even a couple seconds, but it will just do better. And when you look at its level up move pool, it does have a slightly better moveset to start the game. Tackle, Horn Attack, Poison Sting, and Thrash. Thrash is a very powerful move. It's more powerful than Body Slam. The only problem with Thrash is if you don't knock out the opposition after 3 to 4 hits, you become confused, and then it leaves the battle with a chance. However, if they only have 1 or 2 Pokemon and you just can clean sweep them, it makes a lot of battles very easy and doesn't use that many power points. Horn Attack is a decent move to use if you don't want to use Thrash. And like I said, Double Kick would be great with this Pokemon, but we don't get it. Not a big deal. Let's look at the move pool. I think it's exactly the same as Nidoqueen. Is it the same? I thought one move was different. Nope, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same move pool. Mega Punch, Body Slam, Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, Blizzard. And we access to Seismic Toss, Thunderbolt, Earthquake, Mimic, and then we get access to Rock Slide and Surf as well. When you look at these Pokemon side by side, the one difference is attack and speed are higher with Nidoking than Nidoqueen. And then you compare that to the rest of the Pokemon in this challenge, these two are going to have miles between them and the next closest Pokemon. Sandslash will do pretty well, but there's going to be a good 5 to 10, maybe even more than that, gap between Sandslash and Nidoking and Nidoqueen. It's not even going to be close. So I do expect this Pokemon to win the entire challenge. And if you have a different opinion, let me know. So as we recap this, we're going to be playing through the next 5 weeks. As per tradition, we're going to play through in order how I think they're going to finish. And Nidoking will go first, Nidoqueen will be second, Sandslash will be third, Dugtrio will be fourth, and Marowak will be last. There's not a lot of options for what-if scenarios with these Pokemon. I looked. The only one there is a Marowak one, which technically I've already done this, but didn't have access to the stats and all those things when I did it. So we're going to do it again and see how much better we can do in a playthrough with Marowak, Generation 2 with an egg move in Generation 1. That's going to be exciting. I can't wait to do that. And so what we're going to do to fill up the spaces on Wednesdays, is we're probably going to start doing some more Gen 2 content. The next Pokemon we have is Dunsparce, so we have Dunsparce and Optimized Dunsparce, and then we have Gligar after that, and then an Optimized Gligar. It's going to be very fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you think is going to win this and why? I think it's pretty glaring who it's going to be, but I think Nidoqueen can give Nidoking a good run for his money. I don't think Sandslash is going to get up there, but I think Sandslash will put up a good fight. And in the last 2 Pokemon, I do think Dugtrio will do significantly better than Marowak, but it just won't do anywhere near close to the other 3. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.